The Galactic Training Academy's newest facility on Kepler 442b hummed with the low thrum of advanced technology. In Training Bay 7, 30 young beings from across the galaxy sat in neat rows, their various forms of alien physiology creating a colorful tapestry of scales, fur, chitinous plates, and translucent skin. At the very back, almost hidden in the shadows, sat Nihal. She was human, one of only 3 in the entire academy. Her species had only recently been discovered by the Galactic Confederation, and their inclusion in the elite training program was still controversial. Many considered humans to be primitive, despite their rapid technological advancement. Nihal kept her head down, dark hair falling across her face as she focused on her quantum physics datapad. "Today, Cubs, we learn about predator hierarchies," announced Instructor Vexthai, his serpentine form coiling around the central platform. The Sizthak were known throughout the galaxy as apex predators, their species having dominated 3 star systems through sheer brutality before joining the Confederation. In nature, the weak serve the strong. This is universal law. Adnan, sitting in the middle section with the other human cadets, shifted uncomfortably. He glanced back at Nihal, noting how she seemed to shrink further into herself. The 2 humans had barely spoken since arriving at the academy, but Adnan felt a kinship with her. They were both outsiders here. Around them, the alien cubs listened with rapt attention. There was Zixla, a young Thraxian whose crystal carapace gleamed under the lights. Beside her sat Gorth, a massive Kadarian whose fur rippled with each breath. Near the front, the ethereal Whisper twins from Andromeda Prime floated silently, their gaseous forms barely contained within their environmental suits. "Miss Nihal," Vexthai's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Since your species is so primitive, perhaps you can demonstrate what happens when prey encounters a true predator." Nihal looked up, her brown eyes wide with fear. I don't understand, Instructor." "Simple, little human." Vexthai's forked tongue flicked out, tasting her fear in the air. "You will stand, and I will show these cubs how the natural order works. How the strong dominate the weak." The training bay fell silent. Even the ambient hum of the life support system seemed to fade. Nihal slowly stood, her hands trembling slightly. She was small compared to most of the other species, her human frame looking fragile among the armored and enhanced beings around her. Vexthai began to move toward her, his scales scraping against the floor with a sound like knives on stone. His eyes had taken on the predatory gleam that made his species so feared. "You see, Cubs, humans have no natural defenses. No claws, no fangs, no armor. They are nothing but—" "Stop!" The word came from Gorth, the young Kadarian. His normally gentle voice had dropped to a growl that resonated through his massive chest. Around the room, other cubs began to shift restlessly. "Instructor Vexthai." Zixla's crystalline voice rang like chimes. "This is not appropriate training protocol." "Silence!" Vexthai whirled on them, his hood flaring in anger. "I am your instructor. You will observe as I demonstrate the natural order." But something had changed in the room's atmosphere. The cubs were no longer sitting passively. Adnan had risen from his seat, his fists clenched. The Whisper twins were flowing forward, their gaseous forms beginning to crackle with bioelectric energy. Even the normally peaceful Aquarians in the corner had begun to emit the low-frequency hums that preceded their battle songs. "You're afraid of her," Adnan said suddenly, his voice cutting through the tension. "That's what this is about, isn't it?" Vexthai's head snapped toward him. "Afraid of this pathetic creature?" "Yes," Zixla chimed in, her crystal plates beginning to resonate. "The instructors have been talking. They're afraid of what humans represent." "Impossible," Vexthai hissed, but his advance on Nihal had stopped. Gorth lumbered to his feet, his massive form casting a shadow across the room. "Not impossible. Humans don't have claws or armor or poison, but they have something else." "They have pack loyalty," one of the Whisper twins said, their voice echoing strangely. "They have ingenuity," added a young cetacean from the water tank section. "They have the ability to inspire others," Adnan continued, moving closer to Nihal, "even their enemies." Nihal looked around in amazement as, one by one, every single cub in the training base stood up. 30 different species, 30 different evolutionary paths, all united in a single moment of understanding. "You want to know what makes humans dangerous, Instructor?" Zixla stepped forward, her crystal form beginning to pulse with stored energy. "It's not their physical capabilities. It's their ability to make others care. Vexthai realized too late that he had made a critical error. He had intended to demonstrate human weakness, but instead had triggered something far more dangerous: human empathy spreading through the room like wildfire. "In 3 months," Gorth rumbled. "Nahal helped me understand quantum mechanics when I was failing. She didn't have to. I'm not even her species. She shared her food synthesizer codes when mine malfunctioned," admitted one of the Aquarians. "She sat with me during the homesickness protocol," whispered a young ethereal. The stories began pouring out. Small acts of kindness, moments of compassion, instances where Nahal had simply been human, caring, empathetic, willing to help others regardless of their species or status. Vexthai found himself surrounded now, not by passive students but by a unified pack that had chosen their loyalty. His predator instincts screamed at him to flee, but his pride kept him frozen in place. "This is what you fear," Adnan said, moving to stand beside Nahal. "Not our weapons or our technology. You fear that we make others better than they were before. You fear that we turn individuals into families, strangers into allies." The instructor's hood began to fold back, his aggressive posture deflating. Around him, 30 pairs of eyes watched with the patience of apex predators protecting their own. "The training exercise is over," Nahal said quietly, her voice steady now. "And you've taught us something valuable, Instructor Vexthai. You've shown us that the strongest pack isn't always the one with the sharpest teeth." She looked around at her fellow cubs, no longer just classmates, but something deeper. Something that transcended species barriers. "Sometimes," she continued, "the strongest pack is the one that chooses to protect each other." In the years that followed, the cubs of Training Base 7 would graduate to become some of the Confederation's most elite officers. They would serve together across the galaxy, their bond forged in that single moment when they learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not destruction, but the ability to inspire others to be more than they ever thought possible. And in the back row of every briefing room, every command center, every critical moment that followed, there would always be a space saved for the quiet human who had taught them all what it truly meant to be strong.